All right, ladies. If you can hear me, clap your hands. Yay! So we are, I feel like I'm Debbie Downer every time I'm up here with the intro because I have to stop the fun to start. So I first off want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us virtually. So we are flipping into our hybrid sessions right now. And very excited for that. And I'm super jazzed about Paula being here to present to us today. Not only is it's going to be a fabulous presentation, but also our events and programs committee members. So she has a little bit about Paula. She is the founder and principal coach at the Leadership Institute of Virginia. She is a certified executive leadership coach from Georgetown University. I did apply there for business school, by the way, but they rejected me.
Oh dear.
She's also credentialed by the International Coaching Federation. But that's not stop there, because she has a master's in clinical social work from NYU, and she's a licensed therapist, and she's from the Simon School, and no spare time, I think. She has a ton of experience in various leadership roles, team leader, director, CEO, and now she is very much focused on her leadership coaching and bringing her skills and talents out to the world. And we are getting to learn from her today. In-person friends, online friends, please enjoy. And Paula, you are up.
Hey, great. All right, so I have on all of these little, doohickeys because one's for that, one's for that. It's crazy. That one is mine. So the phone, so I could get little clips, to post on LinkedIn and stuff like that. And I'll have my 20-year-old daughter do that for me because I have no idea how to do that at all, but she will take care of it for me. So that's always good. So first thing, the bio, the thing that was just read about me, all true. But is there, anything else you want to know about me? Anything you want to ask me or anything at all? Well, within reason. Anything like why should we be listening to you? You heard the bio.
All right, why should we be listening to you?
Oh, all right. I am so glad you asked. Okay. So, I worked here. I worked at the University of Rochester Medical Center Department of Psychiatry for 10 years as director of the partial hospitalization program, therapist, all that good stuff. And I came to Simon when healthcare, as I don't know, some of you may know, when it actually started turning into a business. Before it was a really patient focused, and then other people got involved, like insurance companies and things like that, and it turned into a business. And not a single person in the department had any business knowledge. So I came to school here as doing the director thing and going to school full time. And we were having a conversation before that about what a difficult program that was to be working full time and going to school full time. I don't know if there's any executive MBAs in here. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, so all right, not alone. So hard work, right? Hard work. And so I'm not foreign to hard work, right? So what we're here to talk about today is leadership. Leadership, my friends, is hard work. It is. So when we talk, I have my grandma font so I can read it. Usually I memorize these things, but I think that ship has sailed in this new decade of mine. Anyway, so when we talk about leader presence, what does that really mean? Well, I'm going to read you something. I have to hold this because, hi. Leadership presence is the ability of a leader to project a compelling and influential image that inspires and engages others. It involves a combination of verbal and nonverbal communication skills, as well as the ability to establish credibility, demonstrate confidence, and connect with others effectively. A leader's presence is crucial for gaining trust. We'll hear that word a few times, and respect, and can significantly impact a leader's ability to motivate and influence a team or organization. No kidding, right? Woo, that's great. All right, but what is leader presence really about? A leader's presence is about the person. You may have position power because of your title, but it's your personal power, what's within you, that creates the leader and your presence. I've worked with many individual contributors that held no title, but were absolutely leaders, 100%. And I've worked with lots of leaders that held the position, the title of leader, and they were floundering. And why is that? Happens a lot. People get promoted into leadership positions based on their technical skill without any leadership development. Leadership skills is a completely different skill set, right? So I've coached a lot of those folks as well because they were like, I need help. And did they become good leaders? You betcha they did. But you know what it took? Hard work. Hard work. Okay. So leader's presence is about your personal power created by mindsets, beliefs, values, and actions. And if there's things getting in the way of your personal power, know that that can be changed, 100%. I know that because of my own personal experience as a coach and neuroscience. There's been so much research done on the brain. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. I find that stuff fascinating. But there's been so much research done that people can grow, learn at any age. Any age. The real question is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Now, I'm going to ask you guys just to think a little bit about leaders you've had in your life. Okay. And when I'm talking about the various things that leaders shouldn't have, I want you to think about those leaders that you've had in your lives, okay? And I want you to think about how those leaders made you feel. Okay. You know that Maya, I'm going to get the name wrong. Angelou? Riverton's, great. Remembered that. I didn't write that down. But you know, they're not going to remember what you did or what you said. They're going to remember how you made them feel. Okay. So a leader's presence. What do you feel like when you're in the presence of a leader? That's very, very important. I just want you to think about that as we continue with the presentation. You guys, some of you may be really good leaders already, right? Some of you may be really good leaders. Some of you may want to become better leaders. Well, that's great. You all inside of you, every single one of you have the strengths to be a good leader. Maybe they just need to be cultivated a little bit. That's all. And if you have or can develop a growth mindset, you are ahead of the curve. Okay. So what are some of the mindsets, beliefs, values, and actions that individuals possess when they truly have leadership presence? I was just about to pull that off. That would have been funny. Now remember, a leader's presence. First and foremost, as a leader, you need to be present. You need to maintain presence. You need to be with. Maintain presence. Okay, what's the first thing? Confidence. Leaders with a strong presence exude confidence in their abilities and their decisions. You have a clear sense of self-assurance, which inspires others to trust, there's that word again, and follow you. You pull them in and you lead them forward. Leader presence. Now, your mindset is you value and believe in yourself. Caveat. Confidence, not arrogance. Okay, so what happens? Let's shout it out. What happens when you swing over to arrogance? Anybody?
Tune out.
It's alienating.
You tune out, alienating. Right, right. Because, hey man, I know it all. I'm gonna have to listen to any of you. I have arrived. And as we go on in the presentation, you'll see why that is no bueno. Okay. But here's the thing about confidence. Like people come to me, I need to really work on my confidence. I don't have the confidence. Well, confidence is not a bippity boppity boo kind of thing. You're confident. All done. Doesn't work like that. Confidence is built. Confidence is built on steps that you take towards your desired self. Take a step forward, small step forward, have some success, confidence builds. Another step forward, some success, confidence builds. Take a step forward, and man, that one didn't work out so great. What'd you learn? You learn. Create another step forward, success. It's built. It's not something, that you're automatically born with. It's something that you gain with experience and success under your belt. So that's confidence. Second, authenticity. Being authentic means to be true to oneself and being genuine in your interactions. Leaders with a strong presence are authentic. They show vulnerability. They say when they made a mistake because they're confident they can learn from it. They're open and honest in their communication. That ain't going to happen if you're arrogant. There isn't an arrogant person in the world that's going to admit a mistake. Confidence, not arrogance. Again, this authenticity, being yourself, being true, trust. People know when you're not yourself. My sister told me not to dance. I don't know, it's just authentic to me.
Let's see your dance.
It is, it's like, when I get happy, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I say groovy tunes. I say shit like that. Ooh, sorry about that. All the time. But your mindset is you believe in and you value self-awareness. You value being true to yourself and being transparent. Now, plenty of time for questions at the end, just so you know. And I'm probably going to ask some of you about your experiences. Stay tuned. Okay. Third thing is effective communication. Now, we could do a whole day on some of these, and effective communication is one of them. So leaders must be able to articulate their vision, goals, and expectations clearly. Okay, so skilled with both verbal and nonverbal, using body language, tone of voice, and words to convey their message effectively and clearly. And usually it stops right there, right? Oh, clear as day. Sure it is. And ensures that people understood what you said. You don't assume. How many people have in this room, just raise your hands, how many people have told somebody something and you thought you were clear as day? And somehow it didn't quite make it. Anybody have that experience? Yeah, okay. And, right, you check to see what they understood. So what'd you hear? What did you understand? Let's make sure we're on the same page. That's the flip, that communication is a two-way street, right? It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. You communicate, someone has to understand. Your job as the leader is to make sure that they did. How do you do it? You ask them, what did you get? What did you understand? Let's make sure we're on the same page. Happens all the time. So miscommunications, misunderstandings, assumptions often lay in the path of issues and conflict. Two-way communication. Also, you know your audience. You speak their language. For example, if I'm an engineer, I'm speaking to a room full of engineers. So I can use engineering words and lingo, which I don't know any. But anyway, if I'm an engineer and I'm speaking to a room of office managers and I'm using engineering lingo, are they going to get what I'm saying?
No.
You have to know your audience, whether it's an audience of one, an audience of 1,000, you need to speak the language that they will understand. Your mindset is you believe in and value clarity in what you're saying, how you're saying it, and you believe in and value true understanding. Not just you think he understood or she understood, true understanding. Okay. Number 4, charisma. What you doing? That is not what I'm talking about, by the way. Charismatic leaders, they attract and engage. You possess charm. You're polite. You're enthusiastic. And you have the ability to connect emotionally with your audience. Again, pull them in and you lead them forward versus pushing them away. Right? Come in versus pushing them away. Arrogance. Your mindset is you believe in and value your influence and you use it ethically and with integrity. Another one of those all-dayers. Emotional and social intelligence. Leaders with a strong presence demonstrate emotional and social intelligence. I should probably tell you that I have a handout for you. You're jotting down all this stuff. I have a handout for you that has everything I'm saying on it except for like the dancing and stuff. But the reason why I didn't give it to you, why didn't I give it to you? That's right. So you get it at the end, if you're good. Okay, so, demonstrate emotional and social intelligence by understanding and managing your own emotions. Okay? Your own emotions and effectively responding to the emotions of others. And you're empathetic, approachable, and skilled at building trust and relationships. That's what you, as a leader, that's what you're building, relationships. That's what you need to be doing. Your mindset is you believe in and value the experience of emotions and the information they bear in yourself and others. You believe in and value the importance of trusting relationships. Now, this isn't on the handout. Emotions and behaviors, 2 different things. 2 completely different things. Okay, if you're angry, I don't know if you've ever experienced a leader, I have, that is like, has angry outbursts, throws things, that's behavior. That's not emotion. That leader may be angry, but did he regulate his emotions? No, he let them get the best of anyway, he let his emotions take over, completely take over the situation. Emotional regulation is so important. You can be angry, right? That might be an important emotion to feel because it's communicating something to you. Something's amiss. What do I need to pay attention to? That's being responsive. Being reactive is, winging something across the room. What does that say to the people that are following you? Anybody, shout it out. What does that decrease? Credibility, trust. Yeah, I'm going to go in and talk to him. That sounds like a great thing I want to do, right? And you're the bearer of bad news. Oh, yay me, right? That leaders like that don't get much information, and leaders need information. Okay. Oh, speaking of which, the next thing is poise and composure. Leaders need to maintain composure and exhibit calmness, especially in challenging and high-pressure situations. Project stability and control, which assures others and inspires trust, right? It inspires trust, even in a high-pressured situation. Composure. It inspires trust and confidence. And your mindset is you believe in and value mindfulness. You believe in and value responsiveness over reactiveness. Okay. Next, strong body language. As we all know, nonverbal cues play a significant role in life, and especially in a leader's presence. If I'm, what? Oh, you're supposed to listen to me now. Okay, so leaders should have strong body language, good posture if you're able, right? Eye contact, appropriate gestures, and facial expressions that convey confidence, attentiveness, and engagement. Your body language also needs to align with what you're saying. I just heard a very strange noise. What you're saying. Okay, so earlier, enthusiasm, right? So if I'm like, oh yeah, we're rolling out this new product line, it's gonna be great. So really, do you really feel that way? Is that really what you believe? And I'm supposed to believe that too? No, they need to align. If they don't align, it can decrease trust. They're not going to trust what you say. People can read your body language. Y'all know that. You know how to do it. Your mindset is you believe in and value what the unspoken is communicating. The last one I'm going to cover is active listening. Okay, this I could, whole day. We could talk about this all day. Active listening is another very important trust factor. A leader with strong presence actively listens to others, demonstrating genuine interest and empathy. They encourage open dialogue. They ask a lot of curious questions. They don't believe they have all the answers. They want more information. And you value diverse perspectives, and you make others feel heard and respected. Active listening and communication go hand in hand, right? You need to listen in order to be able to communicate effectively. Because if you're not listening, some information could be left, very important information could be left on the table because you didn't listen to it. You were off. Remember, first thing I said, leaders, presence. You need to be present in order to hear what people are actually saying. You need to be quiet. Your mind needs to be quiet. Not thinking about, and this is hard in today's environment, thinking 3 meetings ahead, 2 meetings back. We're like inundated. So maintaining presence, you're like, oh, that's so simple. It's so easy. Really. It's hard work to maintain presence, to be able to actively listen. Pardon me, I have to take a sip. Hopefully I won't laugh and spit it all over the place. Okay. Your mindset is you believe in and value inclusion, others' thoughts, feelings, perspectives, and the power of collective thinking. I'm actually coaching a young leader right now. He's really, really a great leader. He's lovely, but he was taught, he was told, you should always speak first. Yeah, maybe in 1977. And he was struggling to like form a connection with his team. He's like, they're not telling me anything. And I'm like, huh, what's going on? Tell me about it. Well, and then he told me that belief, that mindset. I'm like, okay, so what's that like for them? He's like, I don't know. What might you try differently?
Maybe
I'm gonna try just being quiet for a little bit. And I'm like, brilliant. We talked about active listening. And he did that. He went in, and at first it was awkward because they expected him to speak first. And then when he didn't, and eventually he started asking some of those really curious questions. He comes back to me like, kid in a candy store. He's like, guess what? I talked. I got so much more information, and he was just going on and on and on. And that's how he's been running his team. So then he had to go to a board meeting, never met these people before, who was terrified. He's like, what do I say? What do I do? And I'm like, what do you think? What can you extrapolate from what you learned with your team with this board? He said, maybe I can just ask them what they want and what they need. I'm like, there you go. He thought he had to have this, he prepared, of course, but he didn't know what they really wanted. I'm like, and it's like, I'll just ask. I'm like, that's brilliant. Now that went very well too. So with every step he took with active listening and just being present and just taking a step back, asking a curious question, confident. More and more confidence grew within him. And now he needs to influence up in a different way. He's going to use the same skill set, and he has more confidence to do it. Because now he's actively listening while he's influencing up and asking those curious questions. Okay, so what might be getting in the way of developing some of these? Recall how important mindset is. I read it to you. Your mindset is this. But sometimes mindsets can be triggered into what I call mind traps, right? Those kind of beliefs that are so, so ingrained, or there's a trap of, you're comparing yourself to others. She did it this way. Maybe I'll do that. Or trying to be perfect. No, I can't speak until I'm perfect at it. I can't do it until I'm perfect. Or just simply fear. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. So nothing happens. But when triggered into mind traps, here's that brain stuff I was talking about. There's actually an electrochemical reaction that we have in our amygdala back here. Where it's called our primitive brain. Okay, it's that you feel, right? That's literally a chemical surging through your body called cortisol. And this is the part of our brain where our fight, flight, freeze, appease lives. You all know that, right? Appease was added later on, but so that's where that lives. But what that does is when you have that reaction and the cortisol surges through your body, it also affects our ability to access our prefrontal cortex, where all the yummy chemicals of like oxytocin, and our ability for logical thinking and problem solving.
No.
Bueno. And here's the other thing about cortisol. It's not one of those surges and then it leaves. Hangs out with you for a while. Hangs out for over 24 hours. So you know when something happens and you wake up the next morning and you're still thinking about it and you're still affected by it? It's because that chemical is still in your body. That's what happens. Okay, so what's important about that neuroscience fact? Well, the reason why EQ and poise and composure make the list is just for that reason. That mindfulness, that emotional regulation. That's why it makes the list. Because as a leader, if your amygdala is activated, you have more of a tendency to fight, throw something across the room, in the earlier example, fly away, just get the hell out of there, freeze, do nothing, or appease.
Yes. Here, okay.
You know, and you are gone, and what you have to bring to the table is gone. That's why it's so important for leaders to maintain their presence. That's why the emotional intelligence is so important, especially the emotional regulation and the poise and composure. But what else is important about that neuroscience fact? Well, I'll tell you. As leaders, we want to help those we lead stay here. We want them to stay in their prefrontal cortex so they can think logically. They can problem solve. Trust. If you activate here, any leader activates back here, that decreases trust. If they're flying, freezing, and appeasing, trust is not going to happen. They're too activated. So of course, we're not the only factor that, has them maybe with this reaction. However, remember that we're an important one because the position power dynamic. If you're a leader and you have a title and you're over people, the position power dynamic is primed to activate this. It's your personal power. It's who you are that changes that. I don't know if any of you ever had a leader, a boss, and when you saw them, you're like, oh, shit. Versus a leader and you saw that person, you're like, oh, great. Just saying. As leaders, we want to be, oh, great. Or at least not, oh, shit. We want to be the person that activates the oxytocin, not the cortisol. So developing leadership presence takes time and it takes effort and it requires self-awareness. Self-awareness and then some more self-awareness. And it takes practice. Practice, practice, practice. I mean, think about it like, okay, good basketball player. How many times do you think that person stood at the free throw line? You didn't walk right up to the line. Yeah, boom. No. Thousands of free throws, thousands of being aware of where his or her hand was. Aware. Somebody over here telling them, okay, try it this way. Do that. Practice. To really be good at something takes practice. Okay, but by cultivating your personal power, who you are, who you want to be, mindsets, beliefs, values, and actions, y'all can be great leaders. You can inspire, you can be influential, and you can effectively lead others. I have a couple of stories about clients, but I'm going to pause because we have some time, time left. And I just want to open it up. I want to open it up. You want to share an experience, if you have a question.
Something, when you talk about poise and composure, something that I've struggled with personally, in my is I get the composure, and then what happens is like you become a statue who's always perfect, and that like it's so how do you balance having that poise, having that composure, but also being like a relatable human with vulnerability that like people that your employees realize like, hey, it's okay, like I know this sucks too, and
Right.
about it too, but we're gonna work through it.
Right. And I think that has to do with authenticity, right? Poise and composure, that's a great question. Doesn't mean statue-like. That's not, unless that's authentic to who you are, right? So authenticity, genuineness, relatability. Yeah, if something stressful is happening, yeah, I get it. I'm stressed too. However, we're going to do this together. We're going to put all the ideas on the table together and we'll get through it. That's poise and composure, not, oh my God, I'm so stressed out too. Shit, I got to work late again. Man, the missus is going to be pissed. I mean, that's not poise and composure. But you're right. It has to be authentic. It has to be relatable. It has to be real. So, there might be the feelings inside, right? And that's where the emotional regulation comes in, because emotions and behaviors, right? Two different things. Okay. The statue that you were talking about, I would put that in the freeze category, right? Of the amygdala. I have that literally sounded out on my piece of paper here so I could say it right. That's the freeze, but that's not authenticity and realness. So there's the balance, the emotional regulation, the reality of the situation. Because if you're not being real,
They're gonna know that.
if it's a stressful situation, it's a stressful situation. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's that balancing act. Is how do you show people vulnerability while still, keep letting them know that, hey, we have this under control, but like this you're not the only one with this challenge.
Right. And we-centric thinking will get through it together.
Yeah. Say that you're the same person at home and at work, right? You wake up to screaming toddlers, you had a hectic morning, okay? How do you detach yourself of those emotions when you go at work? Because you're a strong leader, you're not supposed to take those emotions at work, but you're still human. How are you able to detach yourself when you reach work and completely switch on to a different mode?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that switch. Is the switch real? Is it perceived that it needs to be there, that switch? What do people think about that? I think that's a really good question. Let's use the collective intelligence here.
In my experience, when you ask us to think about a leader or a number of leaders, one of my leaders now, amazing woman, super empowering. And we are like in very similar circumstances around our children's age. And when a leader comes to you from a hectic morning, right? Like losing her mind. And you start the morning meeting saying, hey, I'm ready to go. It was just like, this is it, like people find that relatable.
Yeah.
And that is like a moment of vulnerability that you can share and then make people realize that you had a situation and it's okay. And then you just try it. Like you are super aware of that. In my case, when I share this type of emotions help me, level set and then you just have to regulate, right? You still have to regulate. But I think when I find myself in situations where, or vice versa, right? Coming from living with a lot of stressful situations at work, coming home with my husband or my children, right? Sometimes like sharing just a little bit, like, okay, now I understand why you were so late. Yeah. But I think it's a balance, but I think it can demonstrate and give examples of vulnerability that are super relatable.
I think that's very, very wise. Because I think there's a belief about that switch. That here I'm one person, here I'm another person. You know, who do you want to be? That's the question. Are you a mom? I bet you work with a bunch of other moms. You know, do you want to be real? I had such a hectic morning, but I'm going to get some coffee. I'm going to chill. We're going to get to work. Right? Authentic. It's very relatable. Probably half the room here can relate to something like that.
I see a lot of nodding.
You at home, nodding. That's that perception, that switch. Okay. I would invite you to leave the switch at home. Be who you are, but emotionally regulate. Right? Emotionally regulate. Don't turn into a statue. And be real, because that's who you are. Who you are as a person at home is part of who you are at work. You're not two separate people. You're not. And you shouldn't try to behave that way.
Hey, Paula, I know, I mean, I'm retired now, but.
Lucky, sorry.
I'm senior vice president in big pharmaceutical companies. And I was extremely authentic leader, but when you grow, when you get more senior in corporations, I was told that I needed to regulate my authenticity. You know, you don't need to share. So I think you have to know what your corporate culture is, you know, and, you know, so you have to, I mean, I didn't lose my whole authenticity.
Sure.
You know, I learned to be a little bit more moderate about sharing, because, you know, like, especially if you're in a all white men, like they don't want to hear you sharing about anything. And so I did a lot of mindfulness and a lot of breathing.
Yep.
You know? So like if there was any time I had a lot of emotions, then I just like excuse myself, I go in the bathroom, center myself, breathe, and then come back out, and I was good to go. You know, but yeah, it's a struggle, but I do feel that being your authentic self makes people want to follow you.
Exactly.
And there is a point though where you might have to moderate it a little bit.
No, exactly. And I think that relates to know your audience, right? What room are you in? Right? You might be in a room where you're trusting, you're sharing, you're all of this, and then you might be in another room where you're being your authentic self, but you may not be sharing as much. You just may not be, because that's not the culture in that room.
Kelly, you probably changed the culture though.
I did.
It's important for us as female leaders to use our influence to be able to do that so that we're not constrained by white male type of mentality, and that it's okay for us to share with balance and regulation.
Yeah, because I've never had people reporting to me, like, I still have tons of people that say, you were the best leader I ever had.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah. You know.
Right.
You know, and I mean, I led a lot of that in big companies, like I was people and culture and all that kind of stuff, because if you can't come to work and be yourself, then you're not going to be productive. You know, if you're always worrying about what you say or what you do or whatever, it's non-sustainable.
It's not. And those are the traps.
Yeah.
Those are the traps. Comparing yourself to others, being afraid, those are the traps. Then you can't bring your full self to work. And when you don't bring your full self to work, then something's being left behind. Okay, so that's the thing. And as leaders, like you apparently did a great job. That's about being a leader. Sometimes it's not going to be exactly like all the other leaders. Okay?
And also, ideally, right, you're gonna want to match some of your values with the company's values, right? So that's why hiring process is like, so I think was Rose was saying, it's a two-way process where, yeah, sure, they are making sure that you are gonna be the right person for the position, but you're also trying to assess whether this company is good. It's a good fit to me.
That's true.
A lot of people don't have that luxury, right, to really to pick, not always, but I think it's super important to also you get a point to assess, like, if I'm really that person that has to like follow something that is not aligned with myself or.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to add to that. And then sometimes, because they have the beliefs and the values and the mission statement on a thing in the hall. Okay, so that's right. When you have to ask. So how is that value shown here? Tell me how that's lived here. And then what do? You actively listen and you ask curious questions, because it could be a statement on the wall, but is it lived? How is it lived? Wait, there was a couple minutes.
About the authenticity side, I have a colleague who kind of comes in almost every day with like a crisis at home. And in a way that is very, like, I don't have children, I'm not at that stage in my life, I can still empathize with it, but coming from a leadership standpoint, I also see how opening every conversation with, oh my gosh, everything's going wrong, is impacting her professional growth.
Mhm.
Looking at it as, if I was their manager, how could I support them in a way that validates their experiences and their feelings, but also is transparent with them that sometimes there's boundaries that need to be set in the workplace to help them grow.
I think you articulated it
perfectly.
I know, I'm like, yeah, right.
It's hard to have those conversations too, because you want to empathize with them, but every day can't be a disaster.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's, you're emotionally regulating. Every day might be a disaster, but emotionally regulate is, not the switch, but just, regulating the mindfulness, the deep breathing, all those kind of things. They really, really help. Oh. It's 12:20. Man, all right.
Shane's not here and I'm in control of closing the session, so he'll.
Okay, so, and next is lunch. Yeah, there's questions. Yes.
I'm curious if you believe in the value of baseless self-confidence or just like a relentless self-belief that's disproportionate to one's lived experience. Do you think there is space for that?
That sounds like arrogance. Am I hearing that wrong?
I'm talking about like a kind of act as if attitude, or like just a really strong growth mindset that's like, okay, I know that I can do anything and I'm just gonna like figure it out, but I'll present in a way that's
I don't know. Let's ask the collective intelligence. What are thoughts about that?
I think the challenge with fake it till you make it is you run a really big risk of running headfirst into a client or a situation where you fail miserably and it just shatters your entire credibility.
Yeah.
That would be my take on it. I would much rather have people ask questions and ask for guidance and let's say, hey, I haven't done this before, but give me a little bit of a roadmap, or how can I get there with it, rather than just barreling into a situation that you have no concept of.
Yeah.
That's situational, is what I was thinking, rather than like embracing it as your entire path forward of things to make it. But in certain situations, it's like, it's a little bit of a balance of the imposter syndrome too, right? Like, it's either I don't feel like I'm good enough to do that, or I'm not the right person for it, but like, maybe I just need to put it in there and try it out, and then, so I think situationally it might be appropriate, but maybe not an entire method to move forward with.
And I also think that there's like a flip of a script to where it's maybe saying something similar, but it's like confident in what you know, humble in what you don't, and being willing to like link in arms, bridge contacts with people that maybe know and do better, right? And so I think that there's like a level of authenticity and say like, you know, in my line of work is like, I'm not sure, but I'll figure it out for you, or contact with someone who does. I think you
Right. That's the, right.
That's the bigger piece.
constant conviction, but yet honest.
Right.
Much value to saying, you know what, I'm not an expert in that, but I can find you somebody who is. And that's what folks value more, is being connected to the right person and the right resource.
Right, because the issue, you know, I've said trust about, I don't know how many times, right? So if you fake it till you make it, and you're presenting yourself as if, and they trust you, and something happens, that trust is really gone and eroded. And you know, I agree, what's the issue with, you know, hey, I'm not sure, you know, can you help me?
Right, another conversation to be had, but it's like people apologize, right? The person that has no conviction, no.
Yes.
No, and you know, like I've been there where it's like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, thank you so much. And it's like, you know, find a good balance in between.
Yeah. That's the appease. That's that cortisol going, appease.
Ask for help, because I was told my whole career, like, Kelly, you need to ask for help, you know? I mean, because I think as women, we feel like we have to work harder, we have to have all the answers, you know, all that stuff. And it wasn't when I finally got over this, yeah, it's okay to tell my boss, hey, and I'm not really 100% sure what you're looking for on this. Can you help guide me a little bit more?
Right.
You know,
What do you need?
yeah.
How can I help?
Because leaders want to help you.
Yeah, most do, yeah.
Most do.
I mean, we have to say that, right? Because like,
I think it's also important to be intentional about where you ask for help. So you might not want to say to the client, I have no idea. Let's say, I don't know. And then ask for help from your friend or your professional network that knows, or say, and I'll have you an answer next week. But I think if somebody wants a job done, either as a superior or as a client or something, and the person is constantly asking them for help, they're like, so it's both a balance of knowing when to get the help and knowing who to ask.
and that you never underestimate, wow, that's a great question. Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to find out. That's so important. You just made that person feel like $1 million.
Leveraging what Kate said, there's real leadership in saying, I know enough about this topic to know that we've now moved into an area where there are some subtleties where we need to bring in another expert.
Yep.
That shows a leadership mindset, even when you don't know the answer to this particular question.
Exactly.
That's a great way to frame it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly, and leaders, you probably have heard this before, leaders don't have all the answers, but they surround themselves on the team with people that are probably smarter than them in certain areas. And then they use the collective intelligence. As a leader, that's a great way. Well, I'm the leader, got it. However, there's people on my team that got this better than me. Let's bring them on.
Talk about active listening in.
Oh, uh-oh, Rose is at the door.
It's largely digital communication age.
Yeah.
So I think at my age, have being on the phone, in person with people, and maybe being, some talent thing, why are you interested in that? But when I get a Microsoft Teams message, I'm an engineer. You know anything about Dow Chemical? Yes. Like, we worked with them, yes, sort of like how, when I can't get a person, and my first thought is, call me, what's your goal here?
Right,
It's such a broad question,
right,
generational, 'cause
yeah,
I'm trying to figure, okay, why, they know I know something. They know I've been doing this for decades, and they've come to the right person, but like, what's the goal of this communication? And I wanna get into the active listening mode, but there's nobody that I can hear with my ears yet. How do I
right, those,
listen when I'm not?
I think you answered your question. Because it's like, that's true, there's a vague question, right? So, the communication, two-way street. What's your preference? Hey, I'd love to have this conversation with you so I can specifically help you, give me a call. Or, bless you, what specifically would you like to know? I'd prefer to do this over the phone. Right, I know that there's, trust me, I get it. My husband told me about a situation where he was supposed to get some information back from a guy and somebody was on it. And he's like, did you get the information back? And he's like, well, I emailed him 5 times. And my husband is, he's like, well, did you call him? It didn't even occur to him to pick up the phone to call. So,
I only want this one narrow thing.
right.
If you just type back, yes, it's 1, 2, 3, ABC. Okay, that's Dow Chemical. You're thinking, if you left with this, there must have been more to this, and I don't think that I did the right thing for our company if I just answered with some.
100%.
How do I get the person to actually
Engage.
Okay.
Transactional, I've answered this question, I've checked off the box type way.
Happy to talk with you. Please give me a call.
I might.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like not, that's like the fear, like, oh, if I say that, what's going to happen? Well, if they really want the information, they'll call you.
Right.
If they need it, they'll call you. I'm sorry, you had a hand up. I know, I'm sorry. Okay. It's all right.
Wisdom or anything?
Yes, oh my God,
The handout.
the handout. Okay, so this is old school, right? Okay, so I'm gonna say, take one and pass it back. Why would you remember that person? Take one and pass it back.
Paula, thank you so much.